Mastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Any questions on what we have studied so far? Anyone new? Jay, Alok, are you all new to the class?
Madam, I was a bit irregular, madam.
Okay.
2-3 classes I have been there, ma'am.
All right. And Alok, what about you? Are you new?
Yes, ma'am. I just got to know about your classes, but I have attended a few Vedanta other classes that are there.
Okay, fine. So we are doing the book Vedanta Treatise, and if we are in the book, we are on chapter 12, studying the 4 yogas. And if something is not clear, stop and ask. Stop me and ask. Because everything in Vedanta sort of builds on everything. So if something is not clear, feel free to ask. If something is unclear as we speak, but now don't bring in some outside topic, just in the flow of thought if it is not clear. Okay, and that is for everybody who is new. Mani, are you new too? The name I have seen. Okay, so Deepraj has a question. Why is it that we say we cannot go back on the spiritual path when we can obtain new vasanas? A good question. Well, if we can increase our vasanas, then how can we not go back on the spiritual path? Anybody wants to try answering Deepraj's question? Very briefly, okay? For once, yes, someone has put a question, brief, clear, to the point, pertinent to Vedanta. So please give answers like that.
May I?
Yes, go ahead.
It is something to do with the quality and quantity of vasanas. As the quality increases, the quantity decreases. So that could be the thing when you grow spiritually.
Deepraj, you want to say something to Reshma?
That doesn't really answer my question, because say even at this stage, we can develop new vasanas, right? Like previously things that haven't affected me have started to affect me. But I don't know if it's like higher or lower, like I cannot make that distinction. It is just, I know that this particular thing that I was not attached to previously, I'm attached to now. So does that mean I've gone back on the spiritual path? I don't know.
May I answer?
Go ahead.
Yeah, if it is something which is affecting, it was probably something which you didn't realize earlier. So that is the possibility, because it's like you can't unknow something you know. So like that might not have manifested earlier.
Okay, but we know that the possibility does exist that we can develop vasanas for things we haven't had vasanas before. Because we can lose vasanas, we can also gain vasanas.
So Deepraj, you unnecessarily confuse the matter by bringing another question. Let's stick with your first question.
Okay.
If you can increase vasanas, which you definitely can, how can anyone say that you can't go back on the spiritual path? You cannot devolve. It's not a possibility. We've often given the examples, the Shastric example of a bridge. The spiritual path is like a bridge. If you take one step forward, the previous part dissolves. So you can't, so in other words, you can't devolve. So what is that supposed to mean? If devolution means increase of vasanas is possible, and devolution is not possible, then how is that, what's that even supposed to mean? Right? That's your question. It's a very good question. Many years ago, I had this question too. How is this even possible? There seems to be a contradiction in terms. So here's what the answer is. The great thing about Vedanta is so many people have thought about this in the past, everything is answered. So it's a simple answer. When they say devolution is not possible, what it means is that you cannot go cultivate desires at a lower level. You can cultivate desires at your level, whatever level you are, but you cannot get lower desires. So that's what it means by the sentence that devolution is not possible. So if you have, for instance, come up to 10 standard, you cannot create desires for first standard stuff. It can't be done, right? If you have become somebody who cares very much for his family, you cannot devolve and not care anymore. It's not possible, right? So you can get desires, you can increase desires at your level. You cannot increase desires below your level. That's for your first question. Is that okay?
I will think about that.
Second question. How can you get affected now by things you weren't getting affected before? Two reasons. Number one, you have cultivated a new desire. Number two, an old desire has manifested. So when you say an old desire is manifested means what? It means that, okay, suppose you met a girl. Okay, now this girl she's a nice girl, you like her, no big deal. I mean, not one way or the other, she seems reasonably nice. Over a period of time, you all start talking and sort of seeing movies together, discussing mathematics, whatever. First sight, you had nothing much. Then for a period of time, you get to know the person. Couple of years have passed. Now she's your friend. She or he, either way, is your friend. Okay, now 2 years ago when you met this person, that person was there, not there, okay with you. But today, when the person is there or not there, makes a difference. Because that thought flow has happened, that attachment has happened. How did it happen? Because there was an inherent desire for, let us say, a friend or a companionship, or whatever that desire was. So now it has manifested in the sense, the desire is there, an object is there, now that object can affect you if you have spent sufficient time on it. Okay, means that seed of the desire is now grown into a tree. So either it was an already present desire or you created a new desire. First, it didn't bother you that people were dying in Ethiopia. Now it bothers you because you expanded your vision. Okay, so these are the two conditions in which what didn't affect you in the past will affect you now. There's also, unfortunately, and I hope that is not true for anybody, a third condition. I hope it is a less frequent condition, but it is a condition. That a person has frustrated his desires so much that now everything irritates that person. Just like everything. You see, some people just get irritated at a drop of a hat. Like, I mean, you'd say, why are you getting so worked up? You don't know, it's not a big deal. But they are so worked up. So this is a third condition, which is the cause of frustration and suppression. This happens usually in older people because they have lived for some time. They lived under some rigid rules or some. So now everything about them is like, they're like a hot tawa. Even if you put cold water on it, they'll sizzle. Okay, so I hope most people, I hope nobody in this class falls into such a category, but this category does exist. I hope that we all know how to deal with our desires so that we don't reach suppression. That doesn't mean, please, when you say this, no, that we haven't to reach indulgence also. We have to know how to deal with our desires. Okay, so these are the three conditions under which it is possible to be affected by things that weren't affecting us earlier. The first two are the real conditions. The third one is the mess we people make.
Jankiji, a question on the
Thank you,
first
Janki.
answer.
Hmm.
So even if the quantity is to go up at that particular level,
Mhm.
so why can't we say the person has devolved because the desires have increased?
Yeah, but we don't use that terminology. As a matter of fact, you're correct. But always remember that the scriptures were written originally in poetry. So therefore, and stories and things like that. It was told in kavya. Okay, in artistic forms. So they said devolution is not possible. That's what they said. But what they meant is you can't go back. Back in the sense you can't get lower desires. That's what was meant by it. But then people don't get what any kavya means, so then they'll argue about it endlessly. Some people argue it does, some people it doesn't, and they're both right. Those who claim that, of course, devolution is possible because you can grow desires, they're right. And those who claim that devolution is not possible, they're also right because you can't go down. You can only stay where you are or go up. That's why this whole, in the Gita, it says that the tamasic go down. It actually says that. And then so people will say, oh, but now Gita says they go down, and there they say it doesn't go. If you understand the whole picture, all of this is clear.
Okay, so speaking of Gita, they also said that Rajasic stay in the middle. So Rajasic people, in the sense that in that way can't evolve, can't come down. They can increase at their own level.
Everybody, nobody can come down. Neither the Sattvic can come down, nor the Rajasic can come down. Everybody, that's a common law for everybody.
But we said Tamasic go down, right?
Yeah, I shouldn't have brought that up, right? Tamasic go down in the sense, okay, everything is said in a certain sense, certain context. They go down in the sense that their desires go into suppression. So now it will take, because, okay, what are the tamasic people doing? They're doing nothing. They're just sitting with their desires. What are the rajasic people doing? They're working on their desires. So they're going up and down, up and down, up and down. What are the sattvic doing? They're taking their desires towards self-realization. Now, because the sattvic are taking them to self-realization, their desires are reducing. Because the rajasic are fooling around with their desires, that band of theirs keeps increasing. Now the tamasic are doing nothing. They're simply stagnating. So for them, it is the difference between a car which is moving and a car which has stopped. You haven't driven that car for 6 months. It's cold weather outside. Now to get that thing to start, it'll be very difficult. So the car has deteriorated. But the car is moving. Sometimes it goes fast, sometimes it goes slow, sometimes it meets with an accident also, sometimes it saves itself also. It's still in a better condition than the car which has stopped. So in that sense, it is using this thing in the Gita. Is that clear?
Yes, food for thought. Thank you.
So the worst thing is actually to have desires and do nothing about it. That is the worst thing. And that worst thing is because they start going into suppression, and then all the results of that start coming. So you go into stagnation, suppression, frustration. It's not helping the situation. At least, Rajasika are staying alive. I mean, alive in the sense something is happening. Tamasik are in a really bad condition.
Thank you.
Okay, so we continue. We started the 4 yogas. The 4 yogas means the 4 methods by which a person performs yoga, which means the unison between this lower self, means our understanding of ourself, and our true self. That is why they are called yogas. Karma means action. Karma yoga is that action which is done for reaching the self. Bhakti means devotion. Bhakti yoga is that devotion which is done for reaching the self. And jnana is knowledge. Jnana yoga is that jnana which is done for reaching the self. I hope you're able to understand the difference, because this is a big problem in the spiritual path. Most of the time we're doing karma bhoga, bhakti bhoga, jnana bhoga. Bhoga means enjoyment. It is very different from the 3 yogas. Even yoga in the sense of hatha yoga, which nowadays everybody refers to as yoga. Are we doing hatha yoga or are we doing hatha bhoga? Why am I doing yoga? So that my body is flexible. Why is my body to be flexible? Obviously, it will maintain my youth. Yes, it will maintain your youth. Yes, it will keep your skins very nice. Yes, your organs will function very well. Yes, you will be fit. But for what? So you had this beautiful car. Okay, it's a fantastic piece of art you have made out of that car. But that car is going nowhere. So what use is that car? So no, yoga means I am using it to go somewhere. Go somewhere means go to the self. Bhoga means I am decorating it and I'm just enjoying decorating it. So we're studying the 4 yogas. We are understanding why we are doing what we're doing, not merely doing it because it's so nice. People say it openly. It's not even like a secret or anything. They'll say, I love going to class, or I love going to that temple, or I love going on that pilgrimage. It feels so nice. I like it. I love it. So somebody else feels so nice going to the pub. How is it any better? And then those people who go to the pub will also argue. There's so much research that shows that if you drink so much wine every day or drink so much beer every day, these are the good things that happen to you. They also say that. Everybody who has decided to do something will find reasons why that thing is good. We're not doing that. We're not finding reasons why this is good. We're undertaking these as tools to reach somewhere. Then we're spiritual sadhaks. Actually, then we're human beings. Because a human being is a tool using animal. We have the better tools and we have the better goals. If you have neither a better goal nor a better tool, well then so be it. What can anyone say? All right, so these are the 4 spiritual disciplines. You can use them as a spiritual discipline. You can also use them for tomfoolery. Most of you are doing so much work for the cause. Doing this, doing that, so many things are going on. But for what? If even 10% of the people who come to the class, who are involved in all the volunteer work, who are doing so much, are doing it for the purpose of realizing the self, this world will be blessed. Everybody will benefit. So let's understand what we are doing very carefully. Because as you improve yourself, you change the world. It's true. It sounds like a lot to say, but it is true. Okay, so who will read? Okay, remember why we had just one more thing before we start. Remember why there are 4 yogas? Who remembers?
4
Because
types
of
of people.
Okay, what are the how is that classification made?
mind predominant, intellect predominant, both of them equally predominant, neither of them active.
Very good. So 4 types of people, all humanity divided into 4 types based on their mind and intellect. The mind is strong, emotional. Intellect is strong, intellectual. Both are equally strong, active. And neither are strong, lazy, inactive. 4 types. Right, so let's continue. Who will read the next paragraph?
I can read. The third type, classified as active, possesses a mind and intellect more or less equally developed. He could be sometimes emotional and at sometimes rational. He has a mixed temperament. The path of action, Karma Yoga, caters to such a person where both the mind and intellect are engaged. The mind surrenders to the higher ideal he works for, while his intellect channelizes actions towards that ideal. Thus, with the mind and intellect set on the higher goal, he sheds his worldly thoughts and desires. This is the path of action, Karma Yoga, and it is suitable for a person whose mind and intellect are equally active. His mind helps him to focus his actions on the higher, and his intellect helps to channelize his actions towards that ideal.
What does mind do?
Mind helps set his goal on the higher.
Surrenders to the higher ideal.
Surrenders to the higher ideal. Yeah.
When anything is said in Vedanta, Deepraj, I'm expecting more precision from you nowadays. Because the better you do, the higher is expected of you. So surrender, it has a specific meaning in Vedanta. What does it mean when you say that the mind surrenders to the ideal? When you're talking of surrender in that sense, now don't talk about areas of ignorance and all over here. Surrender, when you say the mind surrenders to the higher ideal, what does the sentence mean?
It doesn't control your decision. The mind doesn't control the intellect, but it's under the intellect.
Okay, good. Can you explain that further? Jyoti, I'm hearing from you after a long time. You've been evolved.
Yeah, I had other classes happening same time.
Okay, not a nice thing to say, okay, I had other classes. Not very tactful to tell a teacher, oh, I had other classes. Just kidding, don't worry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
When the intellect is has more power over the mind, so the mind is the servant of the intellect. So
Okay.
it's surrendered to the intellect.
Yes, you're right. You're technically correct, but just so that the comprehension is there, when you say mind surrenders its likes and dislikes, means the mind is willing to let go of what it wants because now it is inspired by something else. It is so inspired, like all of us have experienced this, right? So let's say, Jyoti, you had come for the retreat, and at the retreat, you were in charge of taking photographs. So when you were in charge of photographs, then maybe one day you didn't want to go to some part of that schedule, but you knew you were in charge of taking the photograph. So even though you didn't particularly want to do that activity, your mind, because it has surrendered to the ideal, was willing to let go of its likes and dislikes. So one thing is the intellect superimposing upon the mind and saying, do this. That's usually a bad way to do it. But a better way is when the mind itself is inspired by something higher. So once the intellect's job is in the initial stages where it is capable of inspiring the mind. The knowledge inspires. If it achieves that, to whatever extent it does that, the mind says, okay, chalo yaar, is bar, we'll do that one. So the intellect is not actually exerting force here. The mind by itself is willing to go. Like, for instance, when you have come to this class, for those who believe that this class will help me grow and evolve, so your mind itself will say, yes, I must go and do this because it will help me grow and evolve. So when the mind surrenders to the higher idea, the mind is inspired by the higher and therefore surrenders what?
Likes and dislikes.
Likes and dislikes.
Likes and dislikes.
Its likes and dislikes. It surrenders its likes and dislikes for a higher like, as it were. Okay, so when you are a karma yogi, you can use your intellect to focus on that and your mind to be inspired by it. So you get the sort of halfway benefits of both. Halfway because your mind is not so active as the bhaktas and your intellect is not as active as the jnanis, but you get another advantage, which means you use both to be able to do something. Such people take to action. Because if you do just an intellectual thing, they feel like unsatisfied. And if you do just an emotional thing, then again, they feel unsatisfied. They want something more. Has to have more zest to it, more zing to it. So each one of us have all of them. So we have to do all the three. That's quite clear, I think, to everybody. Right. So Karma Yoga is clear. Most important part of Karma Yoga is?
Action.
Yes, action. Finish the sentence.
He has to engage in action to fulfill desires for self-realization.
For the higher cause, that's correct. If that cause is self-realization, then that's perfect. If it is self-development, any higher cause that takes him towards self-realization, then the essence is he's using it as a tool for that. Okay, self-realization, if you can conceive it, self-development, if you're struggling with the concept. So therefore, we use the simpler term, higher cause, which means these two causes. All right, clear self. Then comes the Karma Yoga clear. Anyone has any questions on Karma Yoga?
Yes, Janki-ji.
Yeah.
So the definition of an active person would be this blend of head and heart functioning, right? It's got nothing to do with the number of desires that an active person may have over the emotional or intellectual.
Oh, yeah. So that's another contradiction you will find. That's because in the Gita, when it uses this term in chapter 3, it is referring to people who have got more desires. I don't know if you remember how we had analyzed it at that time. Do you remember that? There are two types of people. Bharat. This is too much. This will be too much for
Janki-ji, I'm not sure if your internet is a little choppy.
Oh, is it?
It's not actually. We can hear
It's not.
clearly.
We can hear.
Yeah, we can hear, but the sentences are getting cut sometimes in the middle.
Not for us, Reshma. I think it's your end.
Okay, I'll check.
So, to explain that, Bharat, I think it's time we start dividing out the classes between new people and old people, because new people will be, I have to start from scratch. Okay, so in the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 3, how many people in this class have done Bhagavad Gita chapter 3? Let's see that. Manoj, who else? Nobody?
Yes.
You've done, okay. Shilpa, you also not done. Uttara is done. Okay. So very few. Okay, fine. Not done here. Okay. So very few people have done. Okay. So there is an LMS course, by the way, on, no, that doesn't cover this, right? Okay, so chalo. In the Bhagavad Gita, in this 3rd chapter, it says, Arjuna asked the question, shall I act or shall I renounce? To which Krishna says, Lokesmin dvividhanishta pura prokta mayanagha. O anagha. Lokesmin dvividhanishta. Twofold path. Lokesmin, in this loka, asmin loke, in this loka, in this world, dvividhanishta, twofold path. Karma yogena yoginam, for the karma yogis is the path of yoga. And for the jnana yogis, sankhyas, for the sankhyans is the path of sankhya. So there are two paths. Now this creates confusion all the time, because in the Gita he claims two paths and then gives three paths. Total confusion. So what he means in the beginning when he starts, it's like introduction, right? He's opening. So there are two paths. Karma yogena yoginam. For the karma yogis is karma yoga. For the sankhyans is sankhya yoga. Meaning what? There are two types of people broadly in this world. There are the introverts and there are the extroverts. What is the definition of these terms? An introvert is a person with very few desires. An extrovert is a person with many desires. Please notice the difference and answer the question. Is an extrovert a person who talks a lot and goes to many parties? Yes or no?
Maybe, may not be.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Hey Bhagwan, is anyone listening? I defined it. An introvert is a person
Few desires.
With
with
less
few
desire.
desires. An extrovert is a person with,
More desires.
so whether he goes to a party or not, where is it coming to it? Whether he talks a lot. Krishna was all the time going to parties. Are you going to put him as an extrovert? He's dancing and he's going and he's singing with the gopis. Is he an extrovert? So please listen. You cannot learn Vedanta unless you learn to listen. An introvert is a person with few desires. An extrovert is a person with many desires. What did he call the person with few desires?
Sankhya.
What did he call the person with many desires?
Karma yogi.
Now you see where the problem lies. He used these words, but that's not how you take it. Both these categories of people, whether you're introvert or you're extrovert, you will do all the three yogas. Okay. Bharat, do you remember any of this stuff?
Yes.
All right. So there is no confusion here. Omkar is not here today, otherwise we could have had that chart. Where's Uttara? Uttara, you're here, right? Uttara.
I'm here.
Oh,
What
you're
chart,
here.
Janice?
Oh, okay, I didn't see. Okay. You remember that chart of introverted and extroverted and the 3 yogas?
I'll try to find it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
So can you put it on the screen? Or Uttara can write it if you don't have it.
I have it,
Yeah.
Jankiji. I can share it with Omkar in a bit.
Okay.
Thank you.
So both the introverts and the extroverts do all the 3 yogas. The difference lies in how they do it. The extroverts, because they're full of desires, are always using their organs of action. They have to do something, no? Because they're full of desire, they're running around. And the introverts use their organs of perception. Because they don't have desires now, what are they going to do? They use their organs of perception. But both have to convert this to worship. So how does an extrovert do it? So an extrovert wants to do karma yoga. What will he do? He will go about building wells. He will go about building, I don't know what, go to the villages, he'll do some work, he'll all this sort of thing. Okay, that's him. Suppose an introvert, suppose an extrovert were to do bhakti yoga, what would he do? Remember, he's using organs of actions. So he's dancing, he's singing, he's jumping, he's going on the streets, he's taking the Lord's name because he's extrovert and he has love of the Lord. So how is that love expressing? It's expressing in these grandeur things. Okay, except maybe I did one line be easier. So he's singing, he's dancing and all of that. So the extrovert doing jnana yoga, what will he do? He will attend satsangs, he will attend Vedanta classes. And the extrovert doing jnana yoga. Now the same thing is done by introverts. So thank you very much for putting this, but next time, Bharat and Omkar, try to put it as a table, so then it becomes clearer.
Yes, sorry, I had only a minute to pull it out.
Yeah, okay, yes, I understand. So introverts doing karma yoga, what are they doing? Introverts doing karma yoga. They are attending class. That is their karma yoga, attending class. No, they're taking the class. An introvert doing karma yoga will take Vedanta classes and, teach and all of this. Write, teach, they're doing karma yoga. An introvert doing bhakti yoga has attunement to that feeling because he's using organs of perception. He just listens and absorbs. And when he does jnana yoga, it is contemplation. Is this clear? So the two paths that Krishna talks of there are the introverts and extroverts. Both of these have to do all the 3 yogas. They will do it in different ways. You're okay, Bharat?
Yes. Thank you.
So in this context, when we don't always talk. So yes, it is true that many karma yogis would have a lot of desires. That is true. That is independently true. But here we are talking about the balance of mind and intellect. That's the path we are doing. So very often you will have to do karma yoga. Now, also another important thing to understand is we are not supposed to sort of say, somebody is doing a lot of karma and therefore he's more extrovert. That's not so. What he achieves is not how much karma he's doing. So it may occur to you as it occurred to me many years ago, that all the more developed, the people that I knew, who I thought were more developed than me, they seem to be doing way more work than the people, and they were supposed to be introverts. So I couldn't wrap that around my head. So maybe you might have that problem also. But if you see a Vivekananda who's, let's say, more introverted than us, he will do way more work, but his involvement in that work will be much less. So as far as he is concerned, there is no work. Or even if you say Krishna, look at how much Krishna did, or how much Rama did. I mean, there's no comparison to him. But involvement in the work is what shows the extroversion, not the work itself. Maybe Swamiji also, all his life, he does 4 or 5 careers. It's not like one thing he was doing so many things. All right, so sometimes it just seems like we can't wrap our head around these things, but if you think about them, you'll see how it all fits. All right.
Janki, sorry.
Yeah, Jyoti.
When you say involvement in the work, do you mean not being attached to the work?
That's right. Okay, so shall we move on to the indolent?
I'll read.
Yes, please.
The last category is the indolent. The indolent lacks both head and heart. His intellect is poorly developed. He can hardly think, rationalize, no way conceive the existence of the transcendental reality, nor does his mind possess feeling, emotion. Far from having devotion to bow down to any altar, deity, or personal god. Hence, he cannot take in spirituality either through the mind or the intellect or a combination of both. That leaves him unfit to take up any of the above 3 courses. The only recourse left for him is to administer discipline forcibly through his physical body, through the path of compulsion, Hatha Yoga. Hatha means force, oppression. Hatha Yoga is therefore a discipline administered through force. It covers a schedule of physical exercises known as asana and pranayam, and a series of other practices involving self-torture, such as standing on one leg or holding up arms for long periods, inhaling smoke, and other torturous practices. These are undertaken as spiritual practices. They help to draw the practitioner out of his indolence, help the mind to start feeling, the intellect start thinking. He gradually grows to qualify for the other 3 spiritual courses. So this paragraph talks about the 4th category of people who can neither use their mind or intellect. So they are not able to fall in any of the earlier 3 categories. So to force them to grow up to one of the 3 categories, forceful actions or disciplines are administered.
Okay, so that.
I'm sorry, I think I lost connectivity for a minute. Did you hear my summary?
Yes, I did, except the last bit. They are given force so that.
So they have to go through disciplines or actions called as Hatha Yoga, which force them to start thinking or feeling so that they can group to the above 3 categories.
Okay, good. So if your mind and intellect don't work, what are you going to do? So in this country, it was a very inclusive culture. We wanted everybody to go. Now here are people whose mind and intellect is not working. You cannot give them a lecture. You cannot give them bhajans to sing. You cannot give them work to do. What will you do with them? You use hatha. Hatha means force. So these people, they take also, very easily they take to practices that are so astounding and so unthinkable by the rest of us. I don't know if you've seen these people, they come on the road, they beat themselves. Sometimes they put hooks in their back and, sort of get lifted with cranes, or they pull things with their tongue, or, really do some really horrible sort of things. And many people, they look down on Hinduism. They say, how can Hinduism do all these horrendous things? These horrendous things are done so that at some stage that poor fellow asks this question, why am I hurting myself? Either as an emotional thing or as an intellectual thing. So that some emotion starts in him or some thinking starts in him. And they will report that also, that having done that, then they feel a bit of emotion to the Lord or something. The more you torture them, the more they are capable of feeling. I mean, that doesn't mean you please start torturing people, okay? That's not what it's talking about. It's talking about how it needs so much force to the physical body before you have some feelings for the Lord or some concept about the Lord. So this is the lowest one, and therefore normally we don't even talk about it. We talk about the 3 yogas. You've always heard about the 3 yogas, and you'll be wondering where the 4th one arrived from today. But for the sake of completion, we say 4 yogas, because that is also a method, and there are people who are capable of teaching that method. We are not associated with that method, in case any of you all are wondering that if you find me lazy, will you put a hook in my back? No, we don't know how to do all these things. We are restricted to dealing with people who want to deal with the intellect. So, but it is a method, and that force, that compulsion makes something come out of it. Sometimes you see that in life also, isn't it? Can't think of God until you go through some terrible sorrow. Can't think of God. So, what can you do? And the worse the pain, the more they can think of God. Actually, the fact is that the more the pain, the less you should be able to think of God. No, when you have too much of pain, but it works that way for some people. But why would one, Deepraj, why would one go to that method when there is no inspiration? Because there is no inspiration. So the person is dead. So you don't feel anything. You don't think anything. So you want that feeling. It's a growth, right? To have the feeling. Why do people go watch movies? People will go watch movies of love stories. Okay? I think you do your own. No, why are you going watching another one's love story? You have your love story, you enjoy your life. No, I will go and watch a movie about a love story. Why? Because they want the, I don't know, that feeling to come up. So we use, in fact, everything we use externally is so that we get an internal feeling to rise. But if your feelings are, what should I say, as it is there, now what do you want? Why do you want any of this?
So would it be right to say that it may not necessarily make the person think of the higher, right?
That is always there, no? That is there in all the 4 yogas.
So then,
because you come to Jnana Yoga doesn't mean that you're going to think of the self. Then if coming to Jnana Yoga made you think of the self, then everybody who came to Vedanta class would be well on the path to self-realization. That is common to all.
right, that is correct. So, but there is some desire which is pushing you to come to this class or to learn this knowledge. So like Deepraj asked, what is that motivation that will want a person to go through that pain?
Same motivation, that's the pleasure. For everybody doing anything, that's their pleasure. Your mind clicks into being, right? Otherwise, you're just saying duh like that. Imagine this tamasic person. There's nothing happening in his life. And he's like, duh. And then there is all this revelry and noise and, a lot of, I don't know, all external. Have you seen this? It's sometimes done in the middle of the street. And then in all that sort of thing, you get charged up. And they require all that charging because they can't charge themselves. I mean, let's not talk about others. The times we can't charge ourselves, so we require an external stimulus.
The confusion is that if the person doesn't have any feeling, then what is driving that person to do all that?
The want for that feeling.
So is it right that even if a person is going to Hatha Yoga, it is out of their own volition?
Of course, of course. Nobody can. You mean somebody else is forcing them? No, of course not.
Okay.
It is their feelings are sparked by the force they are applying to their body. Of course, you will do it under a guru, obviously, but the guru is not catching hold of you from your house and bringing you. You have to go there.
Okay, thank you.
Bharat, how best to apply Hatha Yoga to better discipline oneself? How to apply Hatha Yoga to better discipline yourself? Why are you applying Hatha Yoga, Bharat? Let us apply Jnana Yoga, no, to discipline ourselves. Why do you want to apply Hatha Yoga? You'll have to go to a Hatha Yoga teacher to ask that question. I really don't know what force to put. Bharat, every day at 4 o'clock in the morning, you phone me up. No, don't phone me up. You send me a message on WhatsApp. I won't put on my phone, but I'll see it that at 4 o'clock the message had come. That's called force.
I can manage 2 a.m. Janki ji.
You can what?
Manage 2 a.m.
2 a.m. Sorry, won't work. Force, 4 o'clock, sharp, on the dot, every day. That's called force. But we don't need to do all that. Jnana Yoga is a nice, smooth, soft method. Why are you worried about Hatha Yoga? Chodo usko. And of course, every one of us have to do Hatha Yoga. So how do we do it? We do it in our physical exercises, whether you like it or not. So I can't tell Bharat that for obvious reasons, but the rest of us have to do our physical exercises, whether we like it or not.
So Bharat can be our Hatha Yoga teacher.
Yeah, Bharat can be a Hatha Yoga teacher, but I wouldn't recommend it. He picks up like 200 kgs or some such ridiculous thing. So frankly, I wouldn't recommend it. He'll make you pick up 200 kgs. Hamara kya ho jayega? So yes, but if he's willing to come down for our levels, then yes, maybe one day he will at the university be showing us all how to lift all these fantastic weights. Which reminds me that we are doing a university course from August. So if anybody wants to join, please let me know. All right, so coming back now.
So, Janki ji,
Yeah.
I could not understand the answer that you gave to Deepraj and Reshma's question. If there is no motivation at all, where did that motivation to do Hatha Yoga, which seems very difficult, come from? There is no motivation for anything at all. So where did that thing come from then?
See, you all are all trying to fit it into your mental scheme. The thing is, imagine here's a person. He's not doing very much in life, okay? He is like totally, like largely dead to everything. Okay, now all this tamasha is starting around him, right? There's all this noise and you know, all the music is playing, dham, 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 and then I don't know what all this is, light and music and people and noise and dancing, and he's just watching all of it. And he's watching that for years and years, watching that. One day he says, I will also do that. Because he's watching now. See, why do you go to a disco? You know, you've seen people going to the disco or something, whatever, pub or disco, and you see they're having a lot of fun. You also want that fun. So some basic desire like that. And then you start getting into it slowly. As we will do, right? If your mind associates with something, you will start getting into it. And then when he is pulling that chariot with his tongue or with his, I don't know, with the hooks he's lifted on chain or something. Then he starts feeling that whole excitement. So this feeling of all that is way more than his earlier dead state, right? So obviously this sounds better to him than that.
He will develop that vasanas. That's why he will move there.
Yeah, he'll develop the vasana, means his mind is now coming to the forefront. He's feeling something. So feeling something is better than not feeling anything. No? From being dead-like, he's now caught up in some excitement. So it feels better for him. Why do people go to these football things? See, you could easily see the same football match the next day. Why are you staying up at night to watch it? It's Hatha Yoga. In the sense that, not that somebody's forcing you, but that whole excitement and that whole whatever is going on, you feel more alive. You have to have your pub and your beer and your football, and you just feel more alive. That's why people pay for all this stuff. And they go to the stadium to watch it at the risk of life and limb. Somebody halfway sensible thinks, "Arey Baba, I'll never go to a stadium to watch football." You never know when these fans will start fighting with each other. Or well, sensible or scared, one of these two, not go there. But the rest are like caught up. They want that. I don't know why none of y'all understand how people get carried away with all this stuff. Don't you see that? I don't know. Yes or no? No.
So Janki, people who practice these extreme fasts and things like that, is that also one form of Hatha Yoga?
Yes, it could be. Depends. We don't know. I mean, it's difficult to comment. But yes, it could be. Anything extreme on your body becomes under Hatha Yoga. Like extreme. Sometimes if we do it to ourselves, we take on a spiritual discipline also to some extreme. I remember in the academy, there were some students, when I was studying there were some students who were very particular. 4 o'clock means 4 o'clock. Never miss a single part of the schedule. If you're sick, if anything has happened, never miss. They couldn't finish the course also. They used to crack. Because it's so extreme. None of those people are there anywhere near the path today. It's all Hatha Yoga. Too much extreme behavior. You have to be a little chilled about things in life. But the problem with saying you have to be a little chilled, is very chilled. You can go to the other extreme very quickly. Okay?
So, Jankiji, one
Yes.
question. So, if you find a loved one taking all these kinds of silly practices without obviously worrying about the consequences, how? I mean, you also realize that it's necessary for them to being alive, as it were, and but also the consequences that you can see. What should you do there?
Their call, not our call.
Consequences can be, consequences can come on you.
Yes, so you protect yourself. But it's always their call. There was a person who recently told me, there's this lady, she's a very good-hearted lady. So she had a staff member who had cancer, who was in a very bad state. And then she wanted that lady told her, that staff member told her, my only desire is to get married. And I know a boy, and we've been seeing each other for 6 years, but he's not asking me to marry him. So she called that chap over. She told him, you must either marry her or stop seeing each other. And so the boy agreed. Okay, this lady's cancer, by the way. Before that also, she was full of ailments. She could not move also. Her head was like that. She couldn't move. Then she got well from that. Then she got cancer. Then this story. Then now her cancer is in remission, so he's agreed to marry her. Then 1 week before the marriage, he reneged on his promise. He ran away. So again, she called him and said, what the hell and all. And her cancer came up. Basically, her cancer came right back. Then again, she's in chemo and all that. Again, they called this boy. Again, he agreed to get married. And she said, I will do all the kharcha. So I'll do everything, every part of it. And then her well-wisher asked her, what is the boy going to do? Nothing. So how do you know that next day he doesn't go and he says talak and you're done with this whole story? I mean, not just say the word, but he's not interested. You force somebody. His parents are not interested, which is understandable. They want their son to marry somebody who will have children and sort of thing. This girl is in no capacity to do that. Can you imagine? So this lady did this whole thing. All right, she went this whole way. She got the girl married, and I don't want to tell you. And I don't want to tell you, I contributed a bit into that wedding also because that's how I know the story. She told me the story. It's such a bad idea. From beginning to end, it's a bad idea. And yet, the call is not ours. If that is what that girl wants, that is what she wants. Who are we to decide this? We can only hope that she does it with her eyes open because this is a path to disaster. But if that is what she wants, that is what she wants. So each individual has to take their own call. We can be very discreet with other people's desires. Let us be discreet with our own desires. Other people's desires, let them be. I will control my desires. I will support your desires to the best of my ability. I will control my desires, not yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Namaste, madam.
Yeah. Jay, very, because we are over time. So very good.
Madam, when I come to the point of controlling my desires, madam, intellect says something and the man, it says something, like say eating gulab jamun. Now, I forcefully restrain myself from indulging in it. So is it to be taken as an aspect of Hatha Yoga?
Not really. Hatha Yoga is quite strong, really. So yes, you could if you like, but not really. Hatha Yoga means you did it and then that forced your mind to think something. You did it more to create an emotion. So it may be a little stretching it. So no, I wouldn't put it there, but of course everything is, this is a matter of opinion. Manish, is it Hatha only, not the Hatha Yoga? Yes, that is also a possibility. It is force. But Hatha Yoga of its nature means it has to create in you a thinking or a feeling. Otherwise, it doesn't.